And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, it's been a while, but boy, is it overdue. We've got some Shang news.
Absolutely.
As the Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred was taking questions in All-Star Week, he was asked about the possibility of an expansion team going back to Oakland. And he said, and I quote, "I don't have any problem with any government official in Oakland. I thought Mayor Sheng Tao wasn't particularly helpful when we got down to brass tacks, but I don't think I'm going to have to deal with her moving forward."
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
No, you don't.
800-222-5222 is telephone number 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the host of the Numbers Game podcast, which you can download wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And if you check out his edition from last week, yours truly was his guest. You can also follow him on X at Ryan Girdusky. Ryan Girdusky, welcome.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by. Now, if you go back to the 1990s here in the state of California, coming out of the crack cocaine epidemic, we had a serious crime problem. And Polly Klaas, when she was abducted and murdered by Richard Allen Davis, and there were a couple other big high-profile crimes at the time, got people to say, okay, enough is enough. And we got serious on crime. We elected Pete Wilson as governor. We enacted 3 strikes and you're out. We enacted sentencing minimums. We enacted gun enhancements. There were a number of measures that we took to let the public know that we were serious on crime. And we identified the a-holes in society, and we removed them from society, and we put them in prison for a very long time. Now, when you do that, not only do you make the state a safe place, but you explode your prison population because, as it turns out, there's a lot of a-holes among us. But we just put them in a cage, and the rest of us could be fine. Well, and then at a certain point, people are saying, okay, why are we spending so much money on prisons? Why are we spending so much money on the courts when all of that money could be going to education? And that's when we started to empty the prisons and divert the money to other things, and that's when crime started to take off again. You look at what's going on right now with the border, and Joe Biden said that he was doing the best he could, and this was the best that we could do at the border, and the border's secure, and this is just the way it is. Trump gets into office and basically shuts the border down immediately, where the number of people crossing the border illegally has dropped to close to zero. And now you're starting to see some of the polling numbers on immigration shift over time, where that was always the strongest issue. And now people are saying, well, now the border's secure. Maybe we can move on to other things. Do you fear that on the subject of the border, we could fall into the same trap as crime in California, where you become a victim of your own success?
Oh, absolutely. It's already happening. People have kind of put themselves into a false sense of security almost immediately because especially the visuals of the border being overwhelmed are not being thrown against the television all the time. And people are especially moderate Republicans are the most susceptible group to this. It's been studied before. But people are easing themselves in the notion that everything is fine now and you're just being cruel by enforcing the laws on the books. And that's that what we call it toxic empathy is starting to take hold while they sit there and say, well, do you really want, so and so who's been in the country and still can't speak English being deported? Yes, I do. In fact, those people more than anyone. The illegals who have been in the country for years and still can't speak English. And the problem is that this happens for Republicans as well. But the people who put forward these notions of an amnesty, which has already started going to Congress, Representative Maria Salazar proposed her amnesty today, which she does every 2 years. She's a congressman from Florida. They put these ideas in, you'll pay back taxes and you'll prove you work, which is close to impossible. Your criminal record will be looked at, once again, close to impossible, considering you have falsified documentation. You'll have to pay fines. Also doesn't happen because judges waive those fines constantly. You'll never get the right to vote. Also doesn't happen because liberal judges waive those things. It's extremely, extremely scary to see how quickly things are moving. And, I think luckily for Trump supporters, I mean, Stephen Miller has been, non-wavering on the issue, but there's a lot of voices in Trump's ear right now saying, right, you got the border secure, time to throw together an amnesty as soon as possible.
Here's what worries me, especially in the post-Trump world, is that you look at a lot of these people who are in the Congress, and many of them have been there a very long time, going back to George W. Bush or even before him. And take Lindsey Graham, for example. Lindsey Graham was one of the lead voices for amnesty in the United States Congress for a very long time. And Trump comes along, and then Lindsey Graham realizes that he cannot politically survive in South Carolina if Trump is actively campaigning against him. So Lindsey does what he has to do to make it seem like he cares about the border and that he's not in favor of amnesty and all those things. However, I am 100% convinced that the minute that Trump goes away, Lindsey Graham is going to be supporting amnesty again.
Right. And you can and he will, as many of them are figuring, is that they'll just outlast Trump. I mean, for some members of the Senate and for Congress, it's fairly easy to outlast a single president. You just got to stay there for longer than 8 years, and it's just 1.5 terms if you're a senator, and if you it's 4 terms if you're a congressman, if you're a House member. So there's no question about it. And if you look at the people who are supporting this latest amnesty push by Maria Salazar, it's 10 Republicans have co-sponsored, 4 are in safe Republican seats, and they are pedal to the metal. Here we go. This is the opportunity now to redefine our country. And the problem is you have Republicans like, Sean Spicer's always saying this is our time to pass an amnesty package. Why? We won. Why would you? It's like the French giving up Algiers after they win the war. Why? Why are we doing this for? Why are we conceding after we won on specifically building a wall once and then mass deportations a second time? It's insane, and it is. And immigrants, by the way, although they did shift right in the last election, still a majority voted against Trump. It's wild that they sit there and say, let's feed Democrats more voters, and it's their answer for it because they're so sucking up to the cheap labor lobby or the ethnic lobby. Maria Salazar, it's mostly because of the ethnic lobby because she was a host on Univision or one of those channels. But that's all they do. I mean, Maria Salazar, specifically from Miami, every bill she puts forward essentially is to talk about how to make the lives of foreigners better, never to focus on Americans. And then she'll put her little MAGA hat on when she needs to and continue the day. And, Trump doesn't primary all these people. He primaries a few. But I wish for anything that Republican voters cared as much about Jeffrey Epstein as they should the border and immigration right now, because they will 100% be in no time flat telling Trump, if you don't do this, if you don't do an amnesty, the economy is going to completely fall apart. The fruits will rot in the field, no hotel beds will be made, and everything's going to fall apart if you don't do an amnesty.
I'll tell you, I've read a couple of the books about the 2024 election, the Tapper book and the Fight book.
I read that too.
Yeah, about Joe Biden, his cognitive decline, and how everyone was lied to about it. And that was the big lie of 2024. Well, if that was the big lie of 2024, then the border not being secure, it's not being possible to secure the border, was the big lie that was exposed in 2025. Because that's what we were told by the Biden administration. That's what we were told by Bush. That's what we were told by Obama. That's what we were told by so many administrations going back into the history of the United States of America. And then Trump gets elected this time, and boom, that border is sealed shut within a matter of a couple of weeks. And you say to yourself, okay, if he can do this in a couple of weeks, why is it that for decades and decades and decades they told us that it just wasn't possible and that it was just too vast and too sparse and too big and too remote for us to actually secure, and we just had to accept the fact that people were going to come in and we wouldn't know who they were, and that's just the way it is. It's like when they tell us that our dirty cities is just something we have to put up with, yet when they have an economic conference in San Francisco, the city is so clean you can eat off the streets, yet when they go back home, it goes back to being a dump.
Right. No, it's really disheartening if you live those places, and it's really disheartening for Americans. Look, Angola, which has a GDP the size of Madison, Wisconsin, managed to deport all the illegal immigrants from their country. Haiti, the Dominican Republic deports all the illegals from Haiti. You name in the middle of right now in Iran, which is dealing with wars and bombings and campaigns, are in the middle of mass deporting Afghanistan refugees. If they can do it with a minuscule budget, it is not a question of ability. It is a question of willingness. They are not willing to do it. They never have been willing to do it, and Trump has always been a thorn in their side. If you go back to the 2012 election with Mitt Romney, the aftermath report that they did of the election, they completely lied, and they said that the only way to sit there and win appeals for Hispanic voters is amnesty for illegal aliens. Lo and behold, the person who's the best with the illegal aliens promised to mass deport all of them, and it's the best with Hispanics was Trump, and he never ever moved to the left on this issue during the campaigns that he won. The two campaigns that he won, Trump was the biggest hardliner on immigration in modern history since Eisenhower did Operation, which is what it was called. That is antithetical to their necessary beliefs. Their beliefs are that they need mass amnesty, they need mass immigration for the cheap labor, for the vote, and they will stop at literally nothing. They will give up almost everything for that issue. And Republican voters need to catch wise. Trump has had amazing success when it comes to the border, amazing success. However, that is only one part of our immigration problem. It is only step one. So he's done step one brilliantly, but we still have family chain migration. He's trying to end birthright citizenship for illegal aliens, but we still have that. We still have our problem with the asylum laws that need to be put into law, or reforms for the asylum cases. All those things haven't happened yet. So the fact that they're immediately gunning towards amnesty shows you what their intentions have been this entire time.
We're speaking with Ryan Girdusky, who you can follow on X at Ryan Girdusky. Ryan, let's shift gears here for a second. Last week we had Roger Stone on, and Roger predicted that this next upcoming cycle, the midterm cycle, would be a cycle where the Democratic establishment loses control in any number of primaries, and their preferred candidates will ultimately end up losing to insurgents like we just saw happen in the New York City mayor's race. He said he could see a scenario where Chuck Schumer loses. He could see a scenario where Jasmine Crockett ends up as the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Texas. And he could see a scenario where AOC becomes their nominee for the presidency in 2028. Do you think that 2026 is shaping up to be a cycle where if you are an establishment figure, you are a longtime incumbent, you are someone that Democratic donors are very happy with, that you could end up losing to someone like Mamdani in New York City?
Well, one, Schumer's not up in 2026, so I don't think that he's going to lose. But the thing about the Mamdani election was that New York has had a massive surge of college-educated, very progressive liberals, many of them white, but not all of them. And that has managed to change the face of the party in New York. In 3 of the 5 boroughs of New York City, Republicans have outregistered new voters than Democrats over the last year, because working class people are just soundly rejecting the Democratic Party. We just had a special election yesterday in Arizona, and the establishment candidate won by 40 points. It wasn't even close. The AOC candidate got trounced. So I think that it's a question of really where are they running. I don't think it's going to be all over the place. I don't think that people are that that chaotic as of right now, and I don't think that enough Democrats really have that ability. I will say any place that has a substantially large population of especially black voters won't have that issue, because black voters are centrist in the Democratic Party and Democratic primary. So I think it depends on where. Could AOC be the nominee? Absolutely. I think I've never thought that before, but I do think that now. But it depends on, once again, where is the Democratic primary being held? Joe Biden moved the primary from Iowa to South Carolina because the black vote in South Carolina is extremely conservative for the Democrats. They're not going to nominate a Bernie Sanders. They're not going to nominate an AOC. They're definitely not going to nominate a Pete Buttigieg. So if the primary process starts in South Carolina, no, you're going to have a very moderate Democrat win. And the thing is that the southern states are majority black. I think with the exception of Florida is the only one that's not. And they carry a significant portion of delegates. They are the Super Tuesday vote. And they have decided every one of the Democratic nominees going back until the 1970s, since McGovern, basically. So if you can't appeal to those voters, you cannot be the Democratic nominee for president. And that's why all those people will have a much more difficult chance at being the president, is because of the Southern black vote. Now, when that black vote starts changing, starts dying off, especially the old church-going black vote, we'll have a different conversation. But as of right now, it's strong enough to withhold all the other changes to the Democratic Party.
Last question before you go. What do Democratic establishment figures do with Mamdani? Do they endorse him? Do they stay neutral? What do they do? Well,
so far they're not endorsing him. And apparently Hakeem Jeffries has told people that if he's the mayor, that they can kiss the majority goodbye. I just don't. Mamdani had a meeting with business leaders in New York City and said he said he's no longer going to say the words global intifada, but that doesn't mean he doesn't support it. There's just no way to square that circle. And I think that they have genuine concerns of what goes forward. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to figure out a way come September of who is polling the best, which will probably be Andrew Cuomo, and figuring out how to do anything they can to get Andrew Cuomo to succeed, which is a big question of whether or not anyone else drops out.
Ryan Girdusky. You can follow him on X at Ryan Girdusky, and definitely check out his podcast, which is linked there, which involves me as the guest last week.
You were great.
Oh, thank you. The podcast is the Numbers Game Podcast. You can download that wherever you download your favorite podcast. Ryan, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at JohnnyDon'tLikeShow@gmail.com. That's JohnnyDon'tLikeShow@gmail.com. Randy, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Carly Pierce with special guest Restless Road at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on August 14th. It's all part of the Toyota Summer Concert Series. Tickets on sale now at pacamp.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. All concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing.
All right, it's now time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And today's first edition takes us to Compton.
Specifically to an AM/PM that gets looted constantly.
At what point do you just stop refilling it with Hostess cupcakes?
For more, here is Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
A Compton business owner is fed up with criminals terrorizing his gas station. He says they come in swarms, so he called Fox 11 for help.
Laura Diaz live in Compton with a story you'll see only right here on Fox 11. Laura.
They knew she was doing a live shot.
Maybe they just got married.
The story you'll see only right here on Fox 11. Laura.
Yes, Alex and Marla, the video is haunting. You see dozens of young people breaking in, stealing, and terrorizing, and yet no arrests have been made.
Well, they're youngins.
And it's L.A. County, and no arrests are ever made.
We're so afraid because we don't know if they have a guns or they try to hit us just because they want the money.
This longtime employee of the Arco AM/PM at a laundry Atlantic in Compton is still traumatized from multiple break-ins at her place of work.
At what point do you stop working there? It didn't say she owns it. She's just an employee.
I wonder if there's an insurance company that's willing to sell that woman a life insurance policy.
Cell phone video captures the aftermath of a break-in on June 7th where merchandise was strewn all over the floor as a band of vandals moved through the AM/PM, grabbing everything not bolted down and some items that were bolted down.
They're taking the shelves, too.
Because why not?
The most recent break-in, June 30th, 2 weeks ago. Swarms of vandals descending on the business in utter chaos. The owner says he feels like he's under siege.
They break all the registers, take whatever money is inside the register. They get into the safe, the ATM machine, the scratchers. But
you can't take the scratchers.
Apparently, they think they can scratch the scratchers and then redeem them for cash somewhere else. But wouldn't that be an easy way to catch them because all of those scratchers have barcodes?
Well, no one said these kids were smart.
But on top of that, the employees, they threatened employees.
The owner says the most recent...
Go get a job at McDonald's or Raising Cane's. This ain't going to happen. You make $20 an hour. Why is anyone working at a gas station?
I don't know how they can find anyone to put in an application.
The owner says the most recent break-in cost $50,000 in repairs straight out of his pocket to fix and paint.
How long do you think it takes for you to profit $50,000 from owning an AM/PM?
There are just certain things that aren't worth it, even if it is profitable.
The previous attack, June 7th, the ICE raid started and people attacked his business. He closed as a precaution, but that didn't...
Wait a second. What's the connection there?
I'm not following the logic there.
Was that part of the peaceful protests?
So the ICE raid started, but we can't reference the looting that was going on elsewhere because that didn't happen, wink, wink.
The ICE raid started and people attacked his business. He closed as a precaution.
Well, that's when the stolen Kia goes through the front door.
But that didn't stop them from breaking and entering and destroying. It cost $150,000 in repairs.
This guy in a month is out $200,000 in just repairs, and I guarantee you he has no insurance.
Well, if you're the insurance company, don't you say, no, that didn't happen. The mayor said it was peaceful. There was no violence. Just look at the words of your own mayor.
So they broke the front door and they came in, and for an 8-hour stretch, there was no cops, no sheriff, nobody came.
He says local law enforcement would like to help, but they're outmanned.
This is the story of law enforcement in the mid-2020s. If there are more criminals than available police officers to arrest them, they just get to do whatever they want. That's what goes on with these lootings, and that's what goes on with the street takeovers. If the cops are outnumbered and outmanned, they don't engage.
Well, there's also a political angle here, too, because if you show up and you arrest all these little bastards, then you're going to run up the score in terms of the numbers. And then it makes it harder for the politicians to say, oh, no one did anything illegal if you've got a gazillion people in jail.
And if it's not vandals, it's street racers, turning his gas pump islands into a staging area for spinning dangerous donuts, nearly hitting bystanders. They brag on social media.
They're driving around the gas pumps.
And don't tell me you can't catch them if they're posting about it on Facebook.
The owner says lawbreakers are emboldened. No one's holding them in check.
It's just going to get worse. When people know and especially put it on social media, they feel that, oh, well, nothing's going to be done to me, so I can do whatever I can.
And for the most part, in Los Angeles County and places like Oakland, nothing is done and nothing happens. There are counties that don't put up with this stuff and they arrest people. And then there are counties like Los Angeles and Alameda County,
where it's anything goes.
I reached out to sheriff's investigators, but so far, no response.
And don't wait up late. So that's what's going on in Compton. Randy, it's time to reopen the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
Now it's time to move on from the AM/PM to the Walgreens.
You remember that story a few months ago where video emerged of a Walgreens employee running outside of the business, tackling a shoplifter, and then punching him in the face with keys in his hand?
Yes.
Yeah, the Walgreens employee just got convicted of assault.
Oh, yes. No one who loots gets arrested for anything because that didn't happen, wink, wink. But if you're the employee that's defending the store, you get thrown in jail.
Now, in this specific case, both the shoplifter and the employee got arrested. For more, here is KPIX in the Bay Area.
A Walgreens manager has been convicted after a violent confrontation that was caught on camera with a suspected shoplifter. At Walgreens manager, 49-year-old Wong Hong was convicted of assault.
No relation.
Are you sure he's not your cousin?
At Walgreens manager, 49-year-old Wong Hong was convicted of assault with force, likely to produce great bodily injury. The San Francisco District Attorney's Office says he used keys to attack the suspected shoplifter, Larry Whitlock.
I think he punched him in the eye, too.
Good.
This all happened on March 19th at the Walgreens on 18th and Castro. The DA's office says Whitlock shoplifted a bottle of shampoo. He was confronted inside the store by the manager, who took the shampoo away. And then a street camera captured a violent confrontation outside this store. The DA's office says Hong charged at Whitlock and punched him with a key between his knuckles. Hong was arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Whitlock was charged for battery and petty theft.
Well, how do we donate to this guy's defense?
Well, it's one thing if the confrontation happened in the store, but he chased this guy outside of the store and then used a weapon on him. I don't know if he's 100% in the right here.
Good. My only regret is that a car didn't run the shoplifter over after he chased him out.
When we first reported on this, regular customers told us this Walgreens was a frequent target of shoplifters.
And that's why all the Walgreens in San Francisco are going out of business.
Oh, it's not just them. It's all the others, too. And by the way, I know this doesn't have anything, well, it's not entirely because of the shoplifting. They had other problems. But Rite Aid is basically going out of business. If you get your prescription drugs through Rite Aid and you have to transfer it somewhere else, because of a bankruptcy or because they're going out of business or going under, however you want to describe it, it is the biggest nightmare on planet Earth. You call the 800 number to transfer your prescriptions to some other pharmacy, you pick one, and then they send it to some other place. And the some other place is nowhere near you, and it's just impossible to fix.
You know, what's going on with me right now. The Rite Aid near my house, actually, today's the day they officially closed their doors. And so we're like, where are we going to go? Oh, I know. There's a Walgreens on Sherman Way. So we drive by there. Oh, they closed 6 months ago.
You know what's funny? I switched mine to Walgreens, too. And a friend called me and said, oh, their financial outlook is worse than Rite Aid. I thought, well, what am I doing wasting my time?
One of them said he felt bad for everyone involved.
I feel sympathy for both of them. I feel sorry that people...
No.
I feel sympathy for the employee of the pharmacy that now has to deal with a criminal prosecution for doing something that the city should have done, which is stop the shoplifting.
I feel sympathy for both of them. I feel sorry that people are having such a hard time that they're having to shoplift, and I also feel sorry for the people that have to deal with it on a daily basis. Yeah, I feel sympathy for everybody.
Idiot.
Hong is expected to be sentenced on August 15th. The assistant district attorney who prosecuted the case said in a statement, quote, store theft is an important issue, but it does not justify an assault that goes beyond self-defense. Mr. Hong's response went far beyond self-defense, and we are thankful that the jury rightly held him accountable. Well, we mentioned the suspected shoplifter was charged with battery and petty theft. The district attorney's office tells us his case is still pending.
So they're not letting that guy off the hook either.
Oh, give it time. They'll drop the charges. It's just unbelievable that we do these stories constantly. No arrests were made. The one person they actually aggressively go after is the clerk at the shop.
He stabbed him in the eye with a key.
Do you hear any tears coming from my microphone? You know why you don't?
Why's that?
Because there aren't any. And Randy, we have time for one more addition to the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition involves a towing scheme.
It's called bandit towing, and the LAPD is putting out a warning after they recovered over 140 cars that were being held hostage at crooked auto repair shops.
Great.
So you get into an accident, and even though you didn't call AAA, a tow truck just happens upon the scene and says, hey, I got you. And then they take you to an auto repair shop that says, oh, you're going to need to pay us $10,000.
Sounds like someone who should have been contributing to Shang Tao's reelection.
For more, here is KCAL Los Angeles.
Legend Auto to get their
cars stolen right off the street, not by thieves, but by tow truck drivers posing as the good guys. Law enforcement is sounding the alarm on towing scams.
By the way, I'm going to tell you right now, the moral of this story, get AAA. It's $40 a year.
I've never regretted a payment to AAA, ever.
Recovering more than 100 cars taken under false pretenses and held for ransom. KCAL's Luz Delia Caballero shows us how thieves have been preying on the victims.
They pick up when you call them. They send you a driver who only takes it to AAA-approved places so you know you're not getting scams.
And on the app, you can even track where they are.
There's been an increase, and it is a major problem.
Law enforcement says it's a towing scam so slick it seems as if your insurance company called in to get the job done.
Normally, you'll be approached at the scene of an accident by somebody that either has witnessed your collision or claims to have and wants your information, or the tow truck operator themselves.
Lieutenant Joe Dominguez with the California Highway Patrol says victims then get a message or a call from someone claiming to be affiliated with their insurance company. They'll then take the vehicle to their tow yard and have the owner sign an invoice form.
And then later, when you or your insurance company attempt to claim your car, you'll be charged thousands and thousands of dollars to reclaim your vehicle.
This is happening all the time, especially in a place that has tons of accidents like Los Angeles.
If you're willing to put this much time and effort into a scam like this, and you have the ability to do that, can't you make an honest living?
LAPD says a company operating under the names Legend Auto and Legend Enterprise in Van Nuys is now being investigated for their possible involvement in these bandit tow operations, meaning towing cars without legal authority, adding they may not be the only ones.
There's several different companies involved in this.
We drove to Legend Auto to get their side. By the time we walked up, the gate was closed, but we were still able to talk to someone inside. That person telling us Legend Auto has zero involvement in bandit tow operations.
Sure, these cars just happen upon your auto shop that charges exorbitant fees.
What is it with certain industries where you just know there's always shady deals going on, whether it's the tow truck companies or the trash pickup companies? They're always involved in these city scandals.
LAPD says 145 vehicles have been recovered in this multi-agency operation. This operation comes after a surge in complaints to the DMV and CHP, including this one in Sherman Oaks, where the tow truck crashed into a power pole, sending a pickup truck flying.
Oh, that was the one where they were just straight up trying to steal the car.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. We did that.
Officials say those involved in the bandit tow operations use intimidation, false paperwork, and illegal pricing to profit off desperate drivers.
And by the way, this press conference was this Van Nuys where they recovered a lot of these cars. So you know who a lot of these cars that are getting towed? Those are cars of illegal immigrants that are afraid to speak out.
Probably.
We've got costs anywhere from $7,000 upwards of $15,000 to get a car back.
No arrests have been made at this time, but
there are some pending.
The golden rule is if you did not...
Wasn't that one of the scams that was going on in the city of Bell? Is they kept towing the cars of people in the country illegally and giving them these massive fines that went straight to Robert Rizzo's bank account?
Oh, yeah. And then you look at who was donating to the candidates for council in those cities, and it was all the tow truck operators.
No arrests have been made at this time, but
there are some pending.
The golden rule is if you did not call the tow truck to tow your car, you are in high likelihood going to be a victim of a bandit tow operation.
Nobody just happens upon, hey, I'll tow your car. Don't trust that. Get AAA.
Be careful out there.